You are lying face down in the cold, coarse dirt of the New Mexico desert, the rough grains biting into your cheek. The heavy, suffocating silence of 5:29 in the morning is violently murdered by a sudden silent flash of light brighter than 1,000 suns, so intense you can see the bones in your hands through your closed eyelids. You have just birthed a god of destruction, and you cannot look away from the blinding fire of your own creation. Your name is J. Robert Oppenheimer. You are about to become the most celebrated savior of the free world, but the taste of metallic ash in your mouth tells you the truth. You have just become death, the destroyer of worlds. You are the American Prometheus. When the dust of the Second World War finally settles, your hollow, sharp-cheeked face is plastered on the covers of magazines across the globe. You are the genius physicist who harnessed the fundamental fires of the universe to stop the greatest global slaughter in human history. You walk through the halls of academia smelling of rich pipe tobacco and crisp wool suits, greeted by the thunderous sound of applause wherever you go. You are not just a scientist, you are a national hero. The official story is clean, triumphant, and perfectly packaged for the history books. They say you gathered the greatest minds on the planet, raced against the forces of tyranny, and won. They build monuments to your intellect. They teach children your name in schools, framing your achievement as the ultimate victory of democratic ingenuity over fascist darkness. You stand at podiums, the rough wood pressing against your trembling palms, accepting medals and honors. You smile for the flashing bulbs of the cameras, playing the part of the weary but victorious titan. But the country that is clapping for you right now, pinning medals to your chest, will in less than a decade lock you in a small, stuffy room and strip you of your dignity, your security, and your reputation. You just do not know it yet. For now, you are a living legend. You ended the war. You saved millions of lives. You are the man who commanded the atom. To understand the weapon, one must understand the mind that forged it. You are a fragile, intensely brilliant young man. You wander the ancient, damp stone corridors of Cambridge and the grand lecture halls of Göttingen. You are tormented by feelings of inadequacy, a deep psychological ache that sometimes physically paralyzes you. Your mind moves faster than your mouth can articulate. You read ancient Sanskrit poetry to calm the frantic, buzzing calculations in your head. By the time the 1930s arrive, you are a professor at Berkeley. The air in California smells of sea salt and eucalyptus. You stand before giant blackboards, your fingers coated in dry, white chalk dust, writing equations that describe the invisible fabric of reality. But the world outside your classroom is darkening. The boots of the Third Reich are marching across Europe. The metallic, rhythmic thud of fascism is echoing across the Atlantic. When the call comes to lead the top-secret Manhattan Project, you do not hesitate. You move to a remote mesa in Los Alamos, New Mexico. The biting winter wind chaps your lips. Here you are not just a theorist. You are the conductor of a chaotic orchestra of eccentric geniuses, military generals, and engineers. You work yourself to the bone. You forget to eat. You weigh barely 115 pounds. You survive on strong black coffee and cigarettes, your throat constantly burning with the acrid smoke. But while you are arguing over neutron cross-sections and critical mass on your green chalkboards, Japanese families in wooden houses halfway across the world are sweeping their floors, cooking their rice, and sleeping peacefully. They are completely unaware that their executioner is a soft-spoken, poetry-reading physicist in a pork pie hat. The weapon you are tearing your soul apart to build right now, convinced it is the only way to stop Adolf Hitler, will never be dropped on Germany. It is May of 1945. The spring air is warming the New Mexico desert. The news crackles over the radio, distorted by static. Hitler is dead. Germany has unconditionally surrendered. You stand in your office, the rough fabric of your suit suddenly feeling too tight against your chest. The original justification for your monstrous creation has just vanished into the ether. The evil you were racing against has been defeated. But the massive machinery of the $2 billion project cannot simply be turned off. The military has taken over. General Leslie Groves is breathing down your neck. The momentum is terrifying. You realize, with a cold drop in your stomach, that you are no longer building a deterrent to save the world from Nazi tyranny. You are now building an offensive weapon to be used against a nation that is already on the verge of collapse. The air in the laboratory smells faintly of ozone and heated metal. You touch the smooth, unnervingly cold surface of the metallic spheres that house the radioactive cores. Your colleagues begin to whisper. Petitions circulate. Some scientists beg to stop the work, to demonstrate the bomb on an uninhabited island instead of a city, but you do not sign their petitions. You will soon sit in an air-conditioned, wood-paneled room in Washington and mathematically calculate the exact height to detonate your creation so it maximizes the destruction of human flesh and dwellings. The crack in your moral foundation begins to spread. You are in the room, the target committee. The air is suffocating, heavy with cigar smoke and the scent of polished mahogany. You are no longer just a physicist. You are an architect of death. Military men ask you where the bomb should be dropped to ensure maximum psychological impact. You do not flinch. You do not talk about the children, the hospitals, or the schools. You talk about blast waves, thermal radiation, and atmospheric pressure. You argue against a harmless demonstration in an empty area. You insist that the weapon must be used on a populated city to shock the entire world into never fighting a major war again. You recommend a detonation height of roughly 1,900 feet above the ground. You know exactly what this will do. You have done the math. You know it will vaporize the center of the city and create a hurricane of fire that will consume the rest. You press your pen against the targeting documents, the scratch of the nib sealing the fate of tens of thousands. You convince yourself that this ultimate cruelty is the only path to ultimate peace. In your mind, you are saving future generations by sacrificing the present one. The logic you are using today to justify incinerating a city will become the very logic the military uses to build thousands more of these weapons, triggering the exact apocalyptic arms race you believe you are preventing. August 6, 1945. The news arrives. Hiroshima. You stand on a stage before your cheering, stamping colleagues at Los Alamos. The wooden floor vibrates beneath your feet with their thunderous applause. You clasp your hands together over your head like a victorious prizefighter. You tell the crowd you only regret not developing the weapon in time to use it against the Germans. The crowd roars. But inside, your chest feels crushed by an invisible, agonizing weight. The sickly sweet smell of victory champagne makes you want to vomit. Days later, the true reports filter in. You read the descriptions. Tens of thousands of human beings instantly turned into carbon shadows etched onto stone steps, skin melting off the bones of the survivors like wet paper, the black, radioactive rain falling on the scorched, thirsty victims. You visit the Oval Office. The carpet is thick, the room imposing. You stand before President Harry Truman. Your hands are shaking. You look at him with hollow, haunted eyes and say you feel you have blood on your hands. Truman looks at you with absolute disgust. He offers you a handkerchief. He tells you the blood is on his hands, not yours. As you leave, you hear him tell his aides never to let that crybaby scientist into his office again. The devastating reality sets in. You handed them the fire, and now they no longer need you. It is 1954. The Cold War is freezing the nation in paranoia. You are sitting in a cramped, poorly ventilated room in Washington. The air is stale, reeking of sweat and cheap aftershave. This is your security clearance hearing. The government you gave the ultimate weapon to is now meticulously tearing your life apart. They question your past, your political leanings, your dead former lover. Your colleagues, men you worked alongside in the desert, sit in the witness chair and testify against you. Edward Teller, driven by his own ambitions, twists the knife with his testimony. You feel the physical sting of betrayal, a sharp ache right behind your ribs. They strip you of your security clearance. Your public life, your influence, your voice all erased. You are exiled to the academic wilderness. You retreat to the Virgin Islands. You age rapidly, your body turning frail, your hair turning a shock of stark white. The relentless smoking finally catches up to you. Cancer begins to eat away at your throat, bringing a sharp, metallic pain every time you swallow. You die a fractured man. The world cannot decide what to do with your memory. Some build statues to you as the tragic genius who saved democracy. Others curse your name as the architect of the nuclear nightmare that still holds the world hostage today. You are both the savior and the destroyer. The history books are still bleeding from the pages you wrote, and the world has never stopped holding its breath. You gave humanity the power to extinguish itself, carrying the terrifying burden of the belief that the sheer, unadulterated horror of your creation was the only thing that could force mankind to stop destroying itself. If you were standing in the cold desert of New Mexico, knowing with absolute certainty that your bomb would brutally incinerate over 100,000 innocent civilians, but potentially save millions of soldiers from years of bloody invasion, would you still give the order to test it? Tell me your choice in the comments. If the crushing guilt of J. Robert Oppenheimer haunts you, the next story will freeze your blood entirely. Fritz Haber created the artificial fertilizer that keeps half the global population alive today, but he also enthusiastically pioneered the poison gas that suffocated thousands of young men in the muddy trenches of the First World War, watching them drown in their own fluids with a proud smile. His terrifying paradox is waiting for you in the next video.